Welcome back from the break. You're still here with us. This is GCIC, the primary contact center for citizens in government. We are live in Kololo for the Harvest Expo, which is an agricultural demonstration where we get to see both innovations and different agricultural products that are being exhibited here in Kololo. So talking to us today will be Dr. Charles Chuwa Chiguli, who happens to be the Presidential Principal Private Secretary in charge of agriculture. And he'll be telling us a thing or two about the presidential demonstration farms. Doctor, you're welcome. Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome, sir. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you are welcome, all our viewers. We are happy to be here. Right now, we are at Kololo, the ceremonial grounds, and we are here to exhibit or showcase what we have at the demonstration farms, the presidential demonstration farms. We have a number of them. The main one, which is most known, is the one in Kaomo, that is in Luero. We have another one in Mayuge, in Chera sub-county. We also have another one in Otuke district, in the Baralegi sub-county, and Baralegi, but it's in Okwanga sub-county. And then you have one in Arua town, and then you also have one in Gomba. Yes, and we demonstrate different agro enterprises to the farmers in those areas, and it's an initiative of the president. And the purpose was to reach out to farmers, to enable them access or gain knowledge on how best they can utilize their land, and then increase their household incomes through the managing and growing of different agro enterprises. That's why they are located like that across the country, and we also work with the existing agriculture extension system in the country, that is at the sub-county levels where we are, even the districts.
About 500 birds, and then in the cage.
Yes.
Charles, what's the target audience for this initiative? Is it for the small scale farmers, or who necessarily benefits from this initiative?
The main target of this initiative are the smallholder and the medium holder farmers, small and medium holder farmers, because these ones directly fall in the idea of the president of the 4-acre model. And the idea also has the background that people don't have a lot of land, but must land. That means they must land
1,000 shillings per day. Then that translates into 27,500,000.
Help farmers, or when they come to our demo farms, we expose them to different agro enterprises, but then we also take them through the very important aspect of enterprise selection, because that is very, very critical. Depending on how big your land is, you must select your enterprises very carefully, depending on the market available to you, or depending on the local knowledge that you have, but then also your interests also carry a lot of meaning, because there lies the issue of passion. Agriculture goes with passion. If you're not passionate with what you are doing, you may not realize a lot from it. So
it means we have a balance of about
This land could be so small that they can't have anything productive there. what briefly tell us a few things that can be done in agriculture where someone can earn at least something in less than on less than an acre.
Like an acre,
Yeah,
half an acre.
yeah, half an acre.
Yes, there's a lot that one can do, and then that one you are bordering also largely on urban farming. But there's a lot one can do, even if they're in the rural areas. You can choose enterprises like poultry, that doesn't take a lot of space. And then with modern farming techniques, if you have enough capacity and resources, you can take on the battery cage system, whereby you can have as many animals, but in a very small piece of very small piece of land or a very small area, and then you have very many birds. You use very few people to work at that farm because it's kind of semi-automated. Most of them are semi-automated. So you can take on poultry, you can take on mushroom growing. Also, that doesn't take a lot of space. You can take on even zero grazing. We've seen farmers who are doing it, and maybe they simply buy feed like hay from other farms that grow and sell it. So you can take on things like that. Even up here, if you are up country, so you can take on those enterprises that take small pieces of land or areas or space, and then you can still benefit from them. Some people even grow vegetables in sacks. Actually, most of our farms we demonstrate that those techniques also. You can grow vegetables. You've seen people growing vegetables even along the verandas in sacks and other materials.
So someone out there who's probably watching us may be thinking, well, these presidential initiatives and these demonstration farms, but they're wondering probably how does one get access to these farms?
Thank you, Joshua. It is very easy to access these farms because these are an initiative of the president, as I said, and you know our president, he wants this knowledge to go out, and it is free. Actually, accessing them is free of charge. We don't charge anything. They only require you to organize. We prefer handling groups, farmers groups, or groups of circles or schools, because it's easier to handle a group at once rather than handling one person at a time. Nonetheless, even if you came alone, you can still attend to you, but we prefer groups. So if you want to come and access any of our farms that we've mentioned, you write to the State House Controller. The knowledge is free, and there are a few other things that we also give you as samples to take home, like pasture seed to start you off, things like that. Yes.
Considering that these demonstration farms have been around for a couple of years, have you heard of any success stories, or what has been the impact in the different communities where these demonstration farms have been established?
Oh, that's a very good question. We've had a number of beneficiary feedback from people who have visited us. Some of them came to us to visit the farms, and they realized that maybe the spacing they had used for their different enterprises was not the right one, and that means they're not going to benefit as much. Some of them could even have already realized the mistake. So we've had a number of people. For example, there is a group of farmers that came from Kasanda, and they had done a very big acreage of banana, but they had not done it on proper spacing. Even the holes they had dug were not as recommended. So they told us they went and began changing it gradually, or in phases, and eventually they changed their whole gardens, and they are really now doing very well. So those ones gave us very good feedback, but even there are also other individual farmers that have come back, and they're saying that when I came here, I learned to do this, it is now doing well, now I want to take on this one. So that is also a way of how we get feedback. And also, there are schools that decided to start up agricultural clubs or things like that after visiting the farm. And then they are now also teaching some of those techniques or technologies at their schools.
And considering that these demonstration farms are established all across the country, and there are different agricultural practices that are probably that different regions prefer. What are some of the examples of the agro enterprises in these demonstration farms?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Joshua. When we go to an area, if the president told us to put up a demo farm in an area, we do a baseline study and then get to know the most the agro enterprises that are practiced mostly in that area, and we normally base on that information to choose which enterprises to put at that farm. And for example, when you come to Kaumu, you'll find that these are largely the crops and other enterprises that are largely practiced in central and maybe western Uganda, like coffee, banana, dairy, zero grazing now, because of people want to teach them to work on small pieces of land, passion fruits. But yet when you go to places like Baralegi, there you'll have things like pineapples, you'll have things like mangoes, oranges, because they're doing very well there. And this is what we've also put there. But interestingly, we introduced coffee in Baralegi, that is in Otuke district. It was a trial. And the background to that trial was because when you visited the area, they didn't have a serious perennial crop. So we tried to test coffee because the land seemed to be quite fertile and it's doing very well. And very many people are going there to learn from the area, to learn and adopt and start growing the coffee now because it has turned out to do very, very well. Yes. So that is the basis. That is our basis on which we decide to choose which enterprises are to be put in the different areas. Yes. And so for example, so Mayuge is not also very different from Buganda. We have largely the same enterprises, but for them we also put there a lot of mangoes, because in Busoga, oranges, because in Busoga oranges also do quite well, and you won't find oranges in Kaumu. Yeah, so that's how we keep changing. We based on the things that are doing well in an area, which farmers can actually easily adopt and take on.
So being a demonstration farm, obviously people would have to come to the farm to be able to learn about these modern agricultural techniques. Do you also do outreaches and maybe reach out to the different communities and try to encourage people to visit the farms? Because there's so many people out there who probably wouldn't have the knowledge or the information about these demonstration farms, so they would probably need someone to come and convince them.
That's a very good question, and at this moment I want to express our gratitude for having been given an opportunity to participate in this expo, the Harvest Money Expo, because it is going to help us reach out to many, many farmers who maybe didn't know that they even have a demo farm in their region, maybe West Nile or the Eastern region. So we are very grateful for this opportunity, and we really want to thank the Vision Group for organizing such a big agriculture expo that takes out information to farmers. So this one is going to help us, I know, reach out to many farmers. But going back locally to the areas, we normally just tell farmers, talk to farmers through the farmers district federations or associations. We work with the district agriculture office, the production office, to reach out to the farmers. And as I said, we work with the existing agriculture extension system. So when they are working in their own respective sub-counties, they can tell them or interest them to come to the farm and learn a little more or get exposed to some of the things I've told them. And also in the different regions, there are radios. We have encouraged our farm managers to work with the RDCs to have slots on the regional radios to go and talk about the presidential demonstration farms in that area. So somehow we are kind of also going out, but this expo is giving us another bigger platform to reach out to very many farmers in one stop center, in one go.
Okay. Yeah. So agriculture is one of those areas where young people these days are not really interested in getting into, or maybe they don't look at it as a viable means of making money. And I know with the demonstration farms, of course, one of the I think objectives is to make as many goodwill ambassadors of agriculture as possible. What would you say to the youth out there, maybe who are watching us today? Try to encourage them to get into agriculture.
Agriculture, actually, first of all, I would really encourage them to go into agriculture or into farming. But the best thing, some of them get disappointed when they go into some enterprises and they don't get what they expected. Many of the agro-enterprises are long-term investments. Very few of them, except like the vegetables that are very short-term. But they only have to be patient. It eventually pays off. But fortunately, we are having very many youth groups that are coming up. They visit our farms, and now we are using some of them that we have identified in the different areas. So when farmers come to our farm, sometimes we take them, when we see that many of them are youth, we take them to that particular youth farmer's location, and then that youth farmer explains to them. So I would really want to talk to or advise the farmer and the youth, encourage them to go into farming, but select an enterprise wisely or carefully so that you don't get disappointed when it comes to marketing.
Actually, that's a good point, because most people usually go with the wagon or the wind. Wherever, when someone says, "Oh, there's money in livestock," everyone just decides to follow, and without doing enough research. So
no, it is like I said earlier. One of the things you base on to select an enterprise is the market. Always good to start with the market. Then you know the local conditions that will favor you to supply you as inputs and things like that, the local knowledge you have, and also the passion. Because when you are passionate about maybe livestock, you look for this information, be it from a local input supplier or another farmer or anything. But always make sure that you've addressed the market issue. Otherwise, if you go into it, like you're saying, following a bandwagon, you can hit yourself and then say agriculture doesn't pay at all. Yet there are people who have made a fortune out of agriculture.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And maybe lastly, kindly remind our viewers about where these demonstration farms are located and maybe how they can access them, in case someone is just joining in and they probably didn't hear you in the beginning.
At the beginning. Yes, we have different demo farms, presidential demo farms located in the following areas. We have one in Kaumu, and that is in the Makulubita sub-county in Luero district. The other one is in the Mayuge district, and that serves the eastern region, and it is in Chiterera sub-county. Another one is in the Otuke district, that is in Lango sub-region, and that helps us to serve the northern region, and it is in a village called Baralegi, but it's found in Okwang sub-county. Then the other one is for West Nile. It is in Arua, in Giligiri area, and that one also serves West Nile. And then we have another one in Gomba, in the Madu sub-county, where we largely demonstrate different practices on livestock management, largely still on free range. Because the zero grazing one on these other farms, that one is still free range, but we have different herds there. We have the local animals, the Nyankole herd. We have the Frisians, the crosses, and then we have the Boran herd also.
And people actually, speaking of the different breeds, people are usually encouraged to maybe getting to livestock, but with Frisian, and they're slowly abandoning the local breeds, the Ankole and the likes. What's your take on that?
I think it is important to keep our local breeds, very important, because that is our kind of heritage. And I wish to thank the president. He guided and people formed up an association for breeders of the local Nyankole animals. And it is there. He normally holds meetings with them. So if you still have land and you want to go into meat production, the Nyankole animals are also good. although the challenge is when it comes to milk production, they are not as good. And if you want to go that side of dairy, milk production, then you have to look for high milkers. And that's why people are trying to move away. And always, farmers will make very logical economic decisions. If the farmer realizes that I'll make a lot of money from dairy, they'll go that side. Yet you'll also find a farmer who is staying with the beef production. They only need to improve on some supplements and things like that, so that the animals are not affected by the drought periods, and then they can still remain in business.
Okay. So we're coming towards the end of this interview. So in case you have any parting shots or maybe something,
Each calf,
viewers know
6 liters.
you may have missed maybe.
That is
along
3
the way.
more.
Please go ahead.
I think we've said everything. I just wish to encourage many more farmers in the areas that we've mentioned to come and visit the demo farms. We share with you information, and we are always open. You can also have some knowledge which you can pick and then help to pass on to many other farmers, because for them they will find us at that same point. So I encourage every farmer to try and look for knowledge and skills that will enable them increase their returns as a family, as a farm family, so that their household incomes can grow, and then we enhance our household development.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. That was Charles Chiwuwa Chiguri, the Presidential Principal Private Secretary in charge of agriculture, and he was telling us a thing or two about the demonstration farms, a presidential initiative that was started a couple of years ago, and he's been telling us how it's trying to create as many goodwill agricultural ambassadors as possible, and I'm sure you must have picked a thing or two. For the youth out there, if you thought there wasn't money in agriculture, please think twice. All right, we are still here in Kololo, and we're going to be with you for the next 2 days, and we have lots of other people who are coming on, so please keep tuning in. This is GCIC, the Government Citizen Interaction Center, and we are a primary contact center for citizens in government. You can always reach us on our digital handles or new media, Twitter, GCIC, Uganda, as well as Instagram, LinkedIn, all these other platforms. We're there. Just send us questions. We'll be able to bring you feedback in real time. Thank you for watching. Please keep tuning in. Let's go for a short break. We'll be right back.
And you need to have 400 coffee trees. That is, have 400 stools here. And on average, we get about 6 kilograms of freshly harvested coffee beans. That's about 6 kilograms of freshly harvested coffee beans per tree. And that gives us about 2,400 kilograms in a season. And we sell, after drying, we get 60% of that, and that gives us about 1,440 kilograms of dried coffee beans. And then we sell each kilogram at 2,000 shillings. And that gives us 2.8 million shillings. And when we multiply that, actually we get about 2,280,000 shillings in a season. And then annually we get 5,760,000 shillings. That is, and then we take off expenses. We normally spray. When possible, we mulch, as you can see, desilting the trenches, different management practices that we encourage farmers to do to ensure good yield. And that has shown us that normally, annually, we spend about 1.75 million shillings annually. And that leaves us with about 4 million shillings as a balance. So after planting, with very good management, coffee trees, a coffee tree can begin giving, can begin fruiting at about 1.5 years. It may seem surprising, but this is what we had here. By about 15 months, 18 months, most of these coffee trees had actually flowered, and many people were wondering. But all that came from the good management that we undertook at this farm, right from the planting, whereby we give them the right spacing of 10 by 10 feet, and then also giving it a big hole, because when you dig a shallow hole, your seedling will dry. So we dug a hole with about 2 by 2 feet, then mixed in manure, and then we put in our seedling. So by about 12 to 15 months, most of these coffee trees had actually started flowering.
What type is this?
This is the Elite Robusta. The coffee you have here is called Elite Robusta, and it has been really doing well. And we encourage farmers to undertake it. Okay, right now we are at the dairy enterprise, and we have 7 animals here. We have 2 milkers, 3 are in calf, and then we have also some